and basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman Podcast.
All right, welcome into another episode of the Ryan and Goodman Podcast. And we don't have our sidekick here today, Gary Tanguay. He had a personal emergency, or it didn't sound that bad. Emergency is probably overstating it, but he had another obligation. So it's just a two-man pod today, like the old days, Bob. And, but not like the old days. We have the New York Knicks being relevant, really relevant now.
They are so excited in New York about having a basketball team of consequence.
I know.
And I'm looking forward to it because I think, and I know in the NBA specifically, it's more exciting and interesting when New York's involved. Because New York is a polarizer. Automatically, you got people that love them, you got people that hate them, but it's fun. And I know I enjoyed having that rivalry back in the early 70s. It's as good as any rivalry that I encountered for all those years I covered the Celtics. But anyway, so what do we think? How surprised were you that they were able to pick up a piece?
Yeah, I mean, shocked at the timing more than anything, right? Right before training camp. I'm in Charleston right now. The Knicks are here for training camp. Oh. So I'm going to see Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges later today, in fact. And, listen, me and you, nobody has more respect for Jalen Brunson than us. I mean, for the way he plays the game, for the winner that he is, for the fact that he took like $100 million less on an extension this past offseason. And, now you add a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, who's a little bit of a lightning rod and always has been because his talent is so immense. But he hasn't always fulfilled that. He just started, I felt like, this past year was kind of the first year that you saw it with Minnesota, right? Anthony Edwards, Towns, Gobert playing pretty well together. Yeah. And now Tim Connelly, the GM of the Timberwolves, who also did a great job with Denver, by the way, makes this move. And if it weren't for Connelly, here's what I'll say, Bob. If it weren't for Connelly pulling the trigger on this one, I would immediately say this is a great trade for the Knicks. But it scares me that a guy like Connelly, who's been so successful at the helm of Denver and Minnesota, has dealt away Karl-Anthony Towns, who, by the way, we'll get into. His contract is ridiculously high.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I thought right away, I'm a little murky about the relationship between Towns and Thibodeau.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
What about that? Do I not recall that there was some issue there?
Yeah, I don't remember, but you could see it because Thibs is a grinder now, and he's got grinders on his team. Like Jalen Brunson fits Thibs, he's the perfect Thibs type player. He just wants to play ball, doesn't talk, will practice. If you throw him out there and say, "Hey, we got 3 practices today," Jalen Brunson won't even flinch. He'll just show up for him. He won't complain. So he's the perfect kind of leader for this team, and I think everybody else follows in place of Brunson. But yes, I think you're right. Like Thibs and Towns, I don't know how that goes. Ultimately, it's going to be interesting to see. But they don't need Towns to be the guy. They need him to be a really good guy and a 5-man, really.
What they could ask for is for him to be, for them, what Porzingis was for the Celtics.
Yeah.
And as a third guy, terrific, right. Well, I just popped into my head, by the way, but you think about his skill set and what makes Porzingis so dangerous is that he's a really effective 3-point shooter at 7-3. And Towns is an inside-outside guy. I know he if they use him, I'm going to be curious. I said the same thing about Porzingis. If they use him the right way, so that they got him to go, they can go inside to him, he can stay outside. I mean, he could be on paper a very important asset to that team. So
yeah, Towns is a career 40% 3-point shooter, Bob. So he's your perfect pick in Pop 5. Now, what he isn't is the toughest dude in the world, right? Like mentally and physically, not the toughest dude, but super skilled. You're kind of typical big over the last 8-10 years who'd rather play on the perimeter to some degree than in the post. But listen, the thing I love, so now the Knicks have a starting lineup. Most likely it's going to be Brunson, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and Karl-Anthony Towns. They are all between 27 and 29 years old, Bob. Now, their bench isn't great. Mitchell Robinson's hurt, and you can't really rely on him. They don't have a great bench.
No, I'm looking at it. And McBride, who
he can score.
A lot of people like McBride.
I do too.
They've got Cameron Payne now, unless
Kolek. Kolek is a rookie point guard, backup point guard.
A lot of people are high on Kolek. High now. Don't just. He could be a rookie of some impact. That'll be interesting. And I got Toppin, not the other Toppin.
Yeah, the other one, not OBJT Toppin.
And they've added. I don't know whether or not he'll. If he's got anything left in the tank, Morris. They got
he's just more of a. I feel like he's more of an enforcer off the bench now, as much as anything.
That's the team. Do you buy into their rhetoric down there that Anunoby and Bridges will be effective? Deterrents against Brown and Tatum.
They're two elite defenders. I mean, those are two of the best defenders in the league. So I like what the Knicks did, and let me flip it on you and say, okay, did the Knicks just close the gap on the Celtics, or are they right there with them? Like, are you worried if you're a Celtics fan right now, are you legitimately worried about the Knicks? I'm not, unless Porzingis gets hurt again. Unless there's an injury. I think if you take both teams at full strength, I think the Celtics beat them out of 10 times, they beat them 8 or 9.
Well, the Celtics still, until, assuming that they'll have some good service from Porzingis, they still have the best 5, the best 8, and the best 10 in the league. I'm sorry. Nobody's got a roster deeper with legitimate NBA players better than the Boston Celtics. Still, that hasn't changed. So, no, I respect that the Knicks are going to have a good year. What's the floor? I don't know. They go that ceiling. They could win. Hey, you could go 55 as the over/under. We can go certainly 50 is no sweat, and we'll see how they in that regard. But not. I would right now if the series started today, I'd still be very confident about the Celtics. But the Knicks that's a nice starting 5. There's no question. Nice starting 5.
Yeah, I mean now the Knicks are the third in Vegas. Celtics are 1. Celtics are the clear favorites still. I think Oklahoma City's up there, and then the Knicks. Are you now? It looked like Minnesota was in place, right? It looked like they were in place to do some. And again, let's go through before we get to Minnesota. Let's go through Towns' contract, okay? Because
go ahead.
$49.2 million next year, $53 million the year after, $57 million the year after that, and then a player option for $61 million. He's oft injured. I mean, he is. He rarely plays anything close to 82 games here. Again, it worries me with the lack of depth that they have. The Celtics at least have some depth where you can throw in an Al Horford, which we saw last year in the playoffs. And Al's old, we know that, but Al can give you in a limited time, you can give Al extended minutes and he's very, very effective. Again, now Hartenstein's gone. The trade was Julius Randle, DiVincenzo. They let Hartenstein walk earlier this year for more money and a first-round pick they gave up. That's the one thing about Towns. It handcuffs them a little bit now, Bob. This is kind of their core going forward. And listen, they're relevant. So if I'm Leon Rose, I make this move. I make this move because Julius Randle, I think, had kind of, run its course in New York for the most part. He got him back. Give Randle credit. He's the one who kind of got them back to respectability, but he couldn't really provide what they wanted in the postseason.
Remember the month of January that they had when he was viable. Yeah. That raised everybody's hopes at that time. They were really, really effective that year, and he was part of it. And then once he got hurt, they never reached that level again. No, so let's look at Minnesota just for the hell, because they got off to a good start. I'm looking at, of course, the dog is Anthony Edwards now. What is he now? 22, 23?
Yeah, it's amazing, amazing.
But I know you've had strong feelings about him, when he came in. And He's living up to, to the whole thing, definitely. And now they've got DiVincenzo, who, is really making himself into an interesting NBA player. I mean, he's a terrific three-point shooter, and that bolsters their circumstance. Rudy Gobert is Rudy Gobert. We know what we got there. You're going to get a defensive guy. You're going to have a lob guy. That's for sure. And backed up Naz Reid. It's not a bad backup. And they got Garza. Okay. Randall now forward. I don't know. Tell me what I got. They got Jaden McDaniels. I really don't know much about him, quite frankly.
He's long. I mean, he's long. He's athletic. He's uber talented. Started to kind of fulfill some of that promise. He was like the number one player 1 year back in high school. But now you got the 4-5 of Randall and Gobert instead of Gobert and Towns, which I never thought was going to work, but it did last year.
Yeah, we all questioned that. Right. I think what the league people questioned how that was going to work. And, and it actually was surprisingly effective, we thought, last year. Now
they're deep. And they got Dillingham. Remember, they drafted the rookie Dillingham, who is like a Lou Williams type of guy coming off the bench. He can be that.
Well, they got a very important guy who happens to be 37 years old.
Yes.
And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Mike Conley is crucial to their success.
That's right. Yep.
And he's 37. And Joe Ingles, is a shooter. Yeah, fine. It's in the West, so they're gonna be good. They're gonna be good.
You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Hey, sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. This week on the Prize Picks football board, Justin Jefferson for more than 83.5 receiving yards and Patrick Mahomes for less than 267.5 passing yards. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Can they duplicate, though? The question is now people are expecting them to contend again for the Western Conference title, which they were in the finals last year. Why? Like, if you're Tim Connelly, why are you messing with a good thing? You went deep last year, and I know that Towns contract could handcuff you a little bit, but it worked last year. Why mess with a good thing, Bob?
See, that's when we ask questions like that, both of us have been around long enough to know there might be something we don't know.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That factored into that decision, because your logic is correct and unassailable. Except, so that tells me, maybe there's something else we don't know. So
yeah,
that's all.
and Randall, listen, Randall is talented, puts up numbers, is kind of that versatile forward, really perfect at the 4. And I think he can work with Gobert.
Yeah. Well,
but I like their bench. I like their bench now. Naz Reid coming off the bench, DiVincenzo, Dillingham, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Joe Ingles. They got a good bench.
Maybe Tim Conley has a real thing for DiVincenzo too. He's just starting his ascent in this league. I mean, he's getting better year by year, and he may, I'm not. He couldn't. He said, I really love him. I want to have it. But I think in terms of the Towns thing, where maybe Tim Conley has something we don't know, but maybe he just couldn't live with it. I don't know. But it certainly was a interesting trade, as you say, at the time that it comes. Not a normal time for a trade like that. I don't think so. No.
Well, it'll be fun now, because I think for the last few years we've been trying to manufacture this Celtics-Sixers rivalry again.
Yeah.
Right. And it never really played out. Right. It just never, Sixers have not been what we were kind of hoping they'd be when they got Ben Simmons. Embiid's been great and Maxi's been great lately. They just don't have enough. Well, could the Knicks-Celtics rivalry this year, could it could have kind of turned into that. Could have turned into what we thought the Celtics-Sixers rivalry was going to be the last, 3-4 years.
With the addition of George, and I'm looking some of those peripheral additions they made too. For depth wise, Reggie Jackson, they got Gordon, they got some, they got NBA Caleb Martin. They got some NBA players on they won't be in the starting lineup, and they added Andre Drummond, who still can rebound apparently.
I think he said, did you see his quote? I think he said something like, I'm the greatest rebounder in NBA history or something. I hope I'm not misquoting him because I love him.
Something to that effect. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little bit too much for me.
And anyway, I'm pretty high on them because I'm a big because I'm a charter member of the Maxey fan club.
Oh, you love him. I know. And what's not to like about Tyrese Maxey? I mean, honestly, what's not? Like he's to me, I've said it, Bob. He's the most electrifying guard Philly's had, other than Iverson, since Andrew Toney.
It's Andrew Toney. I'm glad you said that. I was about to say, I remember a guy that was Andrew Toney. All right, one more before we depart the East. I'm looking at the Bucks again. Do you have any feeling about whether Lillard is going to connect better this year than he did last year?
I don't think he will. I saw Chris Middleton a month and a half ago down at the Peach Jam, like the best dude ever. Like literally, Chris Middleton is the most understated guy in the NBA. Like nobody ever talks about him. He doesn't say a word. He's just like, just does his job, but he's been injured so much over the last few years that I don't think we're ever going to see the same Chris Middleton again. He's hurt, I think, still. So I think the only way for Milwaukee to be a viable NBA title contender, or even, to challenge the Celtics, was to get Chris Middleton back towards 100%. I don't love the Lillard Giannis combo. I don't know. I feel like Lillard just kind of needs his own team, needs the ball, needs to kind of be the guy, and he'll take them from mediocrity up. But I don't know if he's the right guy. He's not a pure point or anything close to it. Okay. And he doesn't guard.
Yeah. All right. There you go.
So I think it's Celtics Knicks. I do. I think it's Celtics Knicks right now. And I think the gap is closed, and I can't wait to see what this team looks like. Because on paper, their starting five looks terrific. And again, the pieces look like they fit together, right? That's the other part of this right now, Bob, is you got your point guard, who's your best player, your leader, your everything. You've got your 5-man now, who's, not your traditional 5. He can step out, he can block shots, he can score on the post, he can run, he can jump. And then you got your wings that you said at the beginning, like elite defenders who, and OG's gotten much better shooting the ball. And Josh Hart, listen, he's come a long way as an NBA player. He has come a long way lately, where now he's a weapon on both ends of the court. So I think it's going to be fun too. And I think it'll also be fun because guys like Josh Hart talk some shit. So on the court with the Celtics, Brunson doesn't say 2 words, literally doesn't say anything. I remember asking him years ago, Bob, this was at one of the events I was at. It might've been the Hall of Fame at Mohegan Sun after the game. And it was Brunson, and it might've been Bridges with him. It was one of his teammates. And I went up to him afterwards. I'm like, hey guys, are you guys offended when I call you guys robots? And they looked at me and they both smiled. They're like, no, not at all. And I'm like, because you guys show no personality at Villanova, 0. And they had personality. I knew they had it behind closed doors, but they embraced the fact that people would call them robots, that they did exactly what they were supposed to do at Villanova. They have a pregame routine that they can't stray from. It's not like you're watching other teams with headphones on, right, bouncing to music. They had a specific Jay Wright imposed pregame routine that, oh, by the way, worked because Jalen Brunson, how many other guys have won 2 national titles? Not many. Alex Caravan has at UConn.
You get yourself a cachet when you do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can't wait. I mean, I'm excited for this. I was surprised.
And then, hey, it's the lid lifter. October 22nd, Knicks at Boston. Flag racing. And that, by the way, that is Brad Stevens' birthday.
There you go.
How about that? And he said he ordinarily doesn't really pay a lot of attention, make a fuss about birthdays, but he's excited about this one.
How old's Brad? 32 now?
No, he reversed. He's going backwards. He's doing the Dick Clark.
Seriously, the dude hasn't aged since I first saw him when he was assistant at Butler.
Dorian Gray / Dick Clark. He's going backwards.
Yes.
Okay.
Look, there's nothing like seeing a game live. I mean, watching it on TV is great. We have all the technology. We have our phones. We have access to everything. But being there in person is definitely the way to go. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. For example, coming up in October, $147 to see the Dolphins at New England. That's a good deal, folks. That's an AFC East grudge match. Also, great deals on BC tickets, Boston College tickets, as they're headed in the right direction over at the Heights. Curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats. You got the super deal. Seat views before you buy. Lowest price guarantee, even cancellation protection, job loss protection. They've got so many different angles for you. Game Time Picks. Curation makes it easier for you to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. You could toggle along with all-in pricing. The feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, you get a great view from your seat. Get a panoramic view from the seats that you're about to buy. You don't have to buy them, and you get the view, so you know what you're getting. Lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
So that was the big news kind of on the court, off the court. The really sad news that really took me by surprise. I don't know if you knew that Dikembe Mutombo was sick, but died earlier this week at the age of 58, native of the Congo.
I did not know he had a brain tumor.
Yeah. I mean, this must have hit him fairly quick because I hadn't heard anything about it at all.
Talk about people that it is not hyperbole or exaggeration to say there was a true humanitarian. Yeah. He was one of the greatest people who played in this league, so as a human being, and the things he did in philanthropy for his homeland, extraordinary. And there's no BS. He walked the walk. It was he was extraordinary, and he was such a fun player. The whole finger wag thing.
And he did it, Bob. The thing is, like, he did it. And, some players, you'd be like, man, that dude's arrogant as you know what. Like, why is he doing that? I hate him. I never said that. When Dikembe did it, you just smiled and laughed.
Absolutely. He was a champion. I want to say something. I know it's weird, but I seldom have had this sensation. There was a period of time, there was a game early on in his career, and he's shooting a free throw. And the camera does a close-up as he's shooting the free throw. And I said, that is an intelligent face. Now, when did you ever say there was something, it was regal dignity about this guy, and it just radiated. There was something special. He was a special human being, as well as a 7-foot basketball player. Of course, remember, he came over here to Georgetown as he wanted to be a doctor.
Yes.
Yep. He was not, his goal wasn't to be in the NBA, at all. And but anyway, he's a huge player. We all remember the great lasting image of him when they became the first 8. Denver became the first 8 to beat a 1. They beat Seattle, and he was laying on the floor with the ball. Remember at the end of the game?
Yeah.
You can conjure that, folks. You can YouTube that one up right away. I can tell you, it was so sweet. It was really wonderful. Yeah.
It was one of those pictures you can't get out of your mind, right? One of those one of the best defensive players of all time. And
4-time player of the year.
Feared. There aren't many guys that are feared like he was feared. Like, guys did not even think about coming in and taking it to the basket on him because they knew what was going to happen for the most part. I mean, again, not a big time scorer, but in that Georgetown lineage of bigs, right? Like he was right there with Ewing and Mourning and Mutombo. That's what you think of, don't you? Ewing, Mourning, Mutombo.
Yeah, and he overlapped with Mourning. And I don't know, I couldn't confirm this, but I have a recollection that, I may be, that it was Red Auerbach who over lunch or something with Thompson said, when he wasn't playing the two of them together, Mourning and Mutombo, said, hey, you fill in the blank, play those guys together. I'm just saying, I don't know, but that would be Red anyway. But right, that was that famous Georgetown lineage of bigs. So Dikembe Mutombo, by the way, so many things. He was basically he was on the payroll. He was an ambassador coordinating their efforts in Africa. And there is an African league, and it's people don't really realize that. So that's a huge loss to his family and the world and the humanity.
Where do you put him among the greatest defensive centers in the history of the game? Like how obviously he's up there. He's in the discussion for one of them. Obviously you've been covering this game forever. Where is he around? I'm not.
He's up very high.
Yeah.
Very, because we start with the man who revolutionized basketball with how to play center with Bill Russell.
Yep.
He, as you said, he was a fierce force, and it's a good question. Very high, top five.
You put him top five all time
at the least of defensive center. I can't. That was his reputation too. That's why the game was built on that. It wasn't built on.
Again, I don't remember too many guys in his era, in the era that I kind of grew up in, being as intimidating as him. Like putting fear in guys where they weren't even driving the lane to try to finish around the rim.
It's a great sequence I saw the other day where he blocked 3 shots in a row on the same sequence in the same possession. He got 3 in a row, and then got the ball, and then gave the finger wag. How could he? He has to be in that discussion. He's got to be. I think top 5 is the bare minimum, is the floor. So that regard, yeah. So
all right, I want to finish with one more topic. I know we're going to be talking about this year, but I just saw a picture of at media day, LeBron and Bronny side by side on the podium, and for all that I've kind of given. I don't know if I've given them crap. I don't know if I've done that. I've just tried to be realistic about Bronny more than anything, right? And I've been critical of the fact that the Lakers drafted him in the second round and this and that and the other. But I will say, Bob, that did bring a smile to me. Seeing LeBron with Bronny there, just as a father of a daughter now, of a kid who's in their 20s. And Bronny, I don't even think he's probably younger. He's probably 20, 21.
Yeah. LeBron is carving out a career that is unique in that league anyway, and I think in American sport. First of all, he's one of the handful of guys of the elite level, this inner sanctum level Hall of Fame he's going to be that have lived up every bit to the hyperbole, to the promise of adolescence. He's one of the few. Most guys at that level are actually got exceeded expectation more than Exhibit A, Michael Jordan, who was unknown outside the state of North Carolina when he went to North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Magic Johnson wasn't a national. Irvin wasn't a national sensation coming out of high school. Larry, oh my God, Larry. Look who recruited Larry, and nobody was recruiting Larry except in the MVC. LeBron on the cover of Sports Illustrated at 16, and hyped beyond measure, and has lived up to every bit of it. And now he's got a kid. He's lasting long enough to periodically. It hasn't happened in the game yet, but he's going to be playing at some point, probably this year. We don't know exactly how Bronny's going to pan out, but anyway, even have this moment. No one else has ever had this moment, and they've had it in baseball, with the Griffeys, but we haven't had it in basketball. Father, son, actually competing to get at the same time and time. It's an extraordinary career. I just think it adds to the LeBron legacy, and this. I'm pro LeBron. I mean, I know I don't understand.
Are you going to get mad though? Are you going to get mad when you see Bronny? Like I won't get mad if it's like once this year. If Bronny plays in the G League and they bring him up for that moment because you don't know if LeBron's going to play again next year. Like, we don't know what his health's going to be. It could go quick. So I'm fine with like once. What I'm not fine with is if like Bronny's sitting at the end of the bench and he's on the active roster all year long. Then I say to myself, you know what? JJ Redick is the assistant coach, not the head coach. That
would be very bad in this question. I mean, I totally agree. But it's a fascinating story. And you know, and once again, it adds to LeBron's, you know, LeBron's legacy and more power to him. Good. Like, you can imagine how proud he is. Well,
listen, it's good to see you again. I'm down here in Charleston now, 85 degrees. I know it's getting cool back up there in Boston right now.
It's hanging in, you know, mid 60s and right now. It's a beautiful, it's classic early fall, another nice early fall day here in the hub. Yes.
Well, I'll be sure to tell Jalen Brunson when I see him later today what a big fan he has in you.
When you get to Brookings South, when you get to the Summit League, say hello to Eric, please, for me.
I will. I definitely will. And thanks for joining us, Ryan and Goodman Podcast, presented by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Make sure you see us later in the week. Gary and Bob will be with it again and be hitting on all the pertinent topics within the NBA. We'll see you next week. Thanks.